I am so impressed that so many of you are actually turning up again and listening to these and watching these. Like, oh, it's a little bit here. Like, today we are going to be talking about what is a short story. A few people have asked me to cover this topic because it's one skill that some people just fail to master, or at least find it very, very difficult. And knowing the difference between a short story and a novel would seem like common sense. You know, it's just smaller, right? Less words, less chapters, just less. But it's not. It's really not. You know the old saying, everyone has a book in them. Well, that's bollocks. No, not everyone has a book in them. In fact, many people think they have a great idea for a book, but in reality, it would never work. Others simply just don't want to write a novel. You know, there could be a number of reasons. Time, lack of ideas, motivation, stamina is a big one, focus, or just personal preference. I know many people who feel like a novel is just too big a commitment. They grow bored of the same characters and the same story. They just don't like it. And that's fair enough, you know. Not everyone loves novels. Not everyone enjoys reading 300 plus pages of one story. And for those that crave more of a quick fix, the short story is perfect for them. A short story is not meant to be a condensed novel. It's not meant to follow a massive convoluted plot or to be stretched over a really long time frame. The clue is in the title. It's a short story. 2 or 3 characters is perfect for a short story. 4 a push. Any more than that and it can become confusing. Of course, there are exceptions to this rule. If, say, the story is a little extra piece that ties in with a series of stories or novels, like I sometimes do, then the characters are already established and they're known by your readers, so that's fine. Another exception would be if the characters are depicting real people, like as a cameo from a well-known celebrity. You know, imagine that if you're doing a story where 2 best friends are trying to get backstage at a gig of their favourite singer, and you know the kind where they fight their way through and they keep getting loads of little pushbacks and they keep getting caught and discovered and they don't think they're going to make it, and they're sitting dejected outside and the singer actually walks past and says hello to them. They finally got to meet their idol. You don't need to explain that character. You know, you're using someone that is well known enough. Or it could be that you've made up that character, you've made up that singer yourself, but again, you still don't need tons and tons of information about them or anything like that. That's enough to confuse your reader because they're literally a cameo. As I said, a short story is not meant to be as complete as a novel. You do not need to bog your reader down with endless detail. The best way I've heard it described was as a peek through a keyhole. Okay, you see a small amount of time and a small aspect of the characters' lives and the environment, and that's it. A good short story should make you feel. It should step up, slap you around the face, and stay with you for a few hours after you've read it. Or even a few days. That would be fantastic if we can do that. But you know, we're aiming for a few hours, that's fine. To be a true short story, you want your word count to be somewhere between 500 and 5,000 words maximum. Any more than that and it starts to lose a little its punch and it becomes something else entirely. It's no longer a short story. It's hiding somewhere between a short story and a novelette. You want your story to focus on an important moment in your characters' lives, a moment that changes them forever. Things should not be the same at the end as they were in the beginning. That's the whole point of a short story. Think of your story, any story, not just a short one, as a roller coaster. Okay, we start at rock bottom and we sort of slowly climb, slowly up. We see the top, but then often we come rushing back down again before we slowly, laboriously start climbing back up again. Maybe down again, maybe not, until we reach a place where we can comfortably get off. Remember that short stories are all about limiting yourself. So no more than 2 or 3 places for your setting. Spending ages having your characters rushing from one place to another is pointless. It's a waste of words and it's a waste of your reader's time. It's just not needed. A viewpoint is another thing that you seriously have to think about when writing your short story. In a novel or a much longer piece, you can switch viewpoint, although I don't recommend you doing it too often or in the middle of a chapter. But in a short story, where there's no room or time for like an obvious break in the story, it's very hard to do, and it's often really confusing to read. The third person, the all-seeing, all-knowing narrator, is the most popular choice for short stories, as it's easier to explain past plot points or things that the main character shouldn't and wouldn't know. First person can work perfectly well, as long as you can plan your story properly and you're good at separating your author voice from that of your characters. In a good short story, there's no way to add additional information after the event, so you have to be extra vigilant with your endings. All of your readers' questions must be answered by the end. Nothing can be left unexplained or on a cliffhanger when it comes to a short story. Your reader needs to be left feeling satisfied. Of course, once again, there are a few exceptions to this rule. Sometimes leaving a true ending up to your reader's imagination is a good idea. Like if a couple finally agree to that date. As long as you've wrapped up all your previous plot points, then leave it up to the reader to decide if they actually got on well, if they stayed together, or if they went their separate ways. That's fine, as long as your part of the story is sorted. If the murderer is revealed but they escape from the police, then leave it up to your reader to decide if they ever eventually get caught. It's up to you. As long as your reader is not left with questions about the plot points that you raised during the story, it's all good. Even leaving your reader with an implied ending is fine, as long as it's pretty obvious and again leaves no questions, like the story where the husband had been bludgeoned to death and there was no murder weapon to be found, nothing but the forward leg of lamb in the sink. One problem writers often have with regards to a short story is character development. It seems that many don't feel as connected to their short story characters as they do when they're writing a novel. This can turn into a major problem. Just because you won't be spending as much time with them doesn't mean that you shouldn't care about them or know them as well as you would any other character. If you, as a writer, don't seem to give a shit about them, I can guarantee that your reader won't either. You know, it will show them in your writing, and it won't engage your reader. Because as I suggested in my previous videos about writing believable characters, finding a character interview online and filling that out for them can be a really, really great way of getting to know them before you start writing. Short stories take practice. They are a skill that must be honed. The idea is to eliminate all unnecessary words. If it doesn't advance the plot, cut it. Cut it out. Bye-bye. Gone. A good exercise to do is to look in a newspaper or a magazine for a problem page. You know, the ones like the Dear Diane, I think my partner's in love with next door's dog. He keeps going on about how cute her fluffy little butt is. Now imagine that as a scene from a soap opera. See the scene in your mind's eye. See how it could come about. How it can turn out to be actually a completely innocent thing. Maybe he's planning on getting her a puppy for her birthday or something like that. Then write it. Just give it a go. Doesn't matter if it's good. Doesn't matter if you ever do anything with it again. Just give it a go. All it takes is one tiny seed of an idea to grow into something amazing. That's all for today. Blessed be and happy writing.